This video is a trip report about a crazy 3-day adventure I went on recently that took me from Los Angeles to Copenhagen to Moldova, then Romania, and after a layover in Paris, finally back to Los Angeles. For several months now, I've been borderline obsessed with riding this old school Soviet-era night train that goes from Chisinau, Moldova to Bucharest, Romania. So that's what I set out to do. In this video, I'll tell you how it went, and I'll pass along some tips and useful information in case you want to plan something similar. Ready? Let's get into it. First of all, I flew from Los Angeles to Copenhagen because I wanted to start the train journey in Chișinău and go towards Bucharest rather than the other way around, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But they have nonstop flights from LAX to Copenhagen. I spent the night there, and then the next day I flew from Copenhagen to Chișinău on the European version of Spirit Airlines called Wizz Air. So the pros and cons of Copenhagen. The pros, like I said, there's a nonstop flight that goes from LAX nonstop to Copenhagen. I've been there before. I feel comfortable in that city. I feel safe. I know how to get around. It has a great public transportation system, and the flight on Wizz Air from Copenhagen to Chișinău was super cheap, like $100. Now the cons of Copenhagen, mainly just two big strikes against it. It's very expensive, so you have to really pay attention or your budget could get way out of whack. And for about 7 months out of the year, the weather is just not good. It's either cold or cold and rainy. So those are the two cons of Copenhagen. Still, I recommend it as a city to visit. I highly recommend it. Just keep those two things in mind. So I stayed overnight at a hostel in Copenhagen, and the next day I was flying out on Wizz Air to Chișinău. I'm supposed to arrive around noon, which would give me plenty of time because the train leaves at 4:50 in the afternoon. So no problem there. But let me tell you, this day was just full of challenges from the very beginning. First, the train to the airport was delayed, and then it finally canceled. So I scrambled, found the metro, and wound up taking the metro to the airport. I was worried I would be late, but no need to worry because the flight was delayed. They said an hour and a half. It wound up being about 2 hours. Finally got into Chișinău about 2 o'clock, which still left me plenty of time, still almost 3 hours. I think I could walk to the train station from the airport with that amount of time. So I wanted to take the city bus from the airport to the train station. I wanted the experience, and also haggling with taxi drivers over the price stresses me out. So I just wanted to keep it simple and take the city bus. So I needed some cash. I needed to change some money for the city bus. And there are 3 exchange places at the Chisinau airport. But only one had decent rates. The others really seemed like they were gouging. Unfortunately, the one that had decent rates, there was a little sign that said back in 10 minutes. And admittedly, I could have used one of the other vendors. I could have used the ATM, but I'm stubborn and I wanted to use this place. So 40 minutes later, somebody finally shows up, but by then a long line had formed. But I waited and I finally got some cash, and then I went outside to catch the city bus, which unfortunately doesn't run all that often. So I wasted even more time waiting on the bus to get there. Finally it shows up and everyone squeezes in with all their luggage and boxes and whatnot. The price was super cheap, like $2, maybe less. As you can imagine, this wasn't exactly the express bus. It went slow and made frequent stops. Still, little by little, we made our way into the city center. So I'm looking at the map on my phone, and we're getting closer and closer to the train station. But I just wanted to go 1 or 2 more stops to get a little closer. Then for some reason, the bus makes a sharp turn and starts going the complete opposite direction. By the time I got off the bus, the train station was nowhere close. Google Maps said a 30-minute walk. I still had almost an hour, so I decided to just suck it up and start walking. By the time I reached the station, the train was already boarding. So as much as I wanted to walk around and explore some more, it was such a hectic day, I just went ahead and got on board. I was so happy to be there in Chișinău on the train and really looking forward to the adventure. Real quick guys, if you're finding this information useful, informative, or at least entertaining, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Really helps the channel. So here's some info and a few tips about the train. You can buy tickets online on either the Moldovan or the Romanian Railways website. I use the Romanian site because for me, it seems slightly more user-friendly. But I think either site is fine. And surprisingly, I changed my mind on the dates of the trip, and I was able to cancel the first ticket and get a full refund. It took about a week, but I canceled online and the money came back to my credit card. Another tip, print out your ticket, old school, on paper. Some people say the conductor can scan the barcode on your phone, but I say if you can print it out and bring it with you, just do that, don't risk it. Same with buying your ticket at the train station. Yes, it's possible, but my advice is to buy the tickets online, or if you have to buy it at the station, go a day or two ahead of time. Don't wait until the last minute. Now, the direction of the train. I suggest starting Chisinau, and here's why. The train leaves Chisinau at about 4:50 in the afternoon. But if you go the other way, that train leaves Bucharest at about 7 o'clock at night. That means if you leave from Chisinau, you'll have more hours of daylight to see the scenery. Also, the 2-hour stop at the border where they change the wheels is closer to Chisinau, so you can get that part over with and have more hours of solid sleep. Coming the other way, the border activities happen in the middle of the night, so your chances of getting a good night's sleep are almost zero. Okay, what's it like on board the train? Well, there's no getting around it. The train cars are old. From what I could see online, they were made in the late 70s or early 80s by an East German company. But I have to say, they're also well cared for and clean. You can tell there are people who take pride in the upkeep of the train cars. And I say this because, you know, for example, they have like flower pots in the hallway windows of the train. Also, in my car, the mirrors were spotless, something you don't see. Everything was very clean, like nothing was sticky, the tables, there were no like, you know, you might see here graffiti scratched into the wood, things like that. I feel like there are people taking care of it, but there's no getting around it. They're very old. I mean, same with the restrooms. They're very old, beat up, but I felt like they were clean and they were maintained and kept clean throughout the whole journey. So that says a lot. If you've ever ridden on an Amtrak or other trains, you really can't say that. They might be fine when you get on, but by the time you get off, it's a whole different story. So mad props to those guys. Also in the hallways of the train, they are carpeted and they have a fabric runner protecting the carpet, something that they could take off and wash so that the carpet is protected. And I just feel like this shows pride and shows that they're trying to take care of what they have. Also on board the train, there's a little snack bar where you can get drinks, chips, candy, things like that. And they do make, it seemed like only one hot dish, which was sausage and eggs. But I would also say bring some snacks just in case nothing strikes your fancy at the snack bar. The attendant brings clean sheets, and the bedding, mattress, and pillows are under the seat. After that, you're on your own to make everything up, which explains why mine was, well, less than perfect. Okay, let's talk about a couple negatives. First, the bathrooms. They were clean, like I said before, but they're powered by gravity, one of our most reliable natural phenomena. In other words, when you flush the toilet, water just washes everything out onto the tracks below. I remember this style of toilet from taking European trains back in the 80s. Apparently, this simple approach is still in use in some places. This also means you can't use the restroom when the train is in a station or for 2 hours during the time the train is stopped at the border where they change out the wheels. Just something to keep in mind. The second thing I would call less than ideal is that when you walk from one car to another while the train is moving, it can be a little tricky. I named this part of the train the adventure zone. There are big gaps on each side of the walkway where you can see the ground moving beneath the train. So just a heads up, watch your step and hang on while you're in the adventure zone. Other things you might find annoying or inconvenient, no Wi-Fi, as you would expect, right? The outside of some of the windows was pretty dirty, made it hard to film in some places. And in some of the rooms, the electrical outlet is very worn out. You plug something in, it falls right back out on your lap. So, all minor things, but worth a mention. Okay, sorry, one more thing, and I promise I'm not trying to go off on a tangent. But if you're wanting to travel and you haven't been able to make it happen yet, I just want to encourage you to don't wait. Start planning something now. Because none of us is getting any younger, and time is the one thing we can't get any more of. So please, don't put it off. Start with something simple just to get started. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to reach out and I'll try my best to help. Okay, sorry, back to the trip report. Moving on, let's talk about one of the highlights of the trip. That's the changing of the train wheels. I think train enthusiasts call them the bogies. They call it bogies, I don't know why. Here's the deal. The railroads in Moldova and Romania are a different gauge, which means that the distance between the rails, the tracks, is different in each country. So at a rail yard near the border, they change out the sets of wheels on the train cars while you're on board. Because it's the border and because of the process going on, you have to stay on the train. They separate the cars and special machinery slowly lifts them off the ground so the workers can roll out the old set of wheels and roll in a different set. Very interesting to watch. And also time consuming. The whole process takes about 2 hours. While the mechanics are working on the train, they also do the immigration and customs formalities for the border. And I want to warn you, don't be surprised if they hang on to your passport for a while. This really stressed me out, but apparently it's totally normal. An officer stopped by each room on the train, asked for our passports, and then he left, taking our passports with him. And he was gone for what seemed like forever, but was probably around 45 minutes. Then, and I'm already nervous enough, I'm by myself, I don't speak the language, some total stranger has just walked off with my passport. Then the train starts moving. And I'm thinking, hey, am I the only one concerned here? And apparently I was. But as it turns out, the train was just moving as part of the process to get the cars reconnected after the wheels had been changed out. A little while later, the gentleman returned with a stack of passports and handed them back to us. As usual, I got stressed out for nothing. The train finally got moving and stopped again nearby for the Romanian border check. This was pretty quick and nobody took our passports. They came around to each room and scanned them with a portable scanner, asked a few questions, and that was it. So the good news is, after this, you can go to sleep. There are no more interruptions until the train arrives in Bucharest the next morning. The ride was a little bumpy, but I still got some solid sleep. I mean, it had been a long day, so I had no problem sleeping. The next morning, the attendant stopped by each compartment to make sure we were awake and ready to disembark in Bucharest. I broke down the bedding and put everything away. Not sure if that's necessary, but I saw other people doing it. And we rolled into Bucharest right on time, shortly before 7 a.m. Here, I had a little extra time before going to the airport. So I found a respectable coffee place not far from the train station and had a nice pour over. It really hit the spot. The place is called Saints, by the way. I recommend it. I walked back to the train station, Gara de Nord, and there they have frequent train service direct to the airport. I went to the ticket window, but the lady let me know that it's better to just pay on board. So she showed me where the train was. I was able to pay with a card on board, and it was like $1.50. What a deal. The airport is small and manageable, but like pretty much every airport around the world, from what I can see, it's under construction. So allow some extra time for this. Certain sections are closed off, and you might have to walk quite a ways to get where you're going. I flew back on Air France from Bucharest to Paris, and then Paris to LAX. Left Wednesday, back on Saturday. Super short, but what a fun adventure. So just a couple final thoughts to wrap up. I absolutely would recommend this trip. The train is old and not fancy, but what a unique experience. And who knows how long it'll stay this way with the vintage train cars, changing the wheels at the border. Really cool to see. And if you can convince some friends to go along, I think the trip would be even more fun to go with some buddies. I went by myself and it was fine, but because it's such a long journey, I think with more people, it would be even more fun. I mean, good luck convincing anyone to go with you. That's probably going to be a challenge. But if you can, I recommend doing it with some friends. Okay guys, I hope this information was helpful. Any questions, ideas, or suggestions, please let us know in the comments below. And for those of you still watching who stuck it out this long, here's some bonus footage. Check, 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 testing. Look what a nice day it is in the marina. Oh my goodness. The fountain. Really nice. All right, guys, I don't want to disturb your snack. There you go. Bon appetit. Okay, guys, if you're still watching and you've made it through the whole video, I appreciate you. You're a rock star, and I thank you. Cheers. See you next time.